It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Yes, it does on a Monday. Thank you, Chad Erickson. Great to have you with us for the next 60 minutes with a lot to talk about from a busy sports weekend. Jason Cole drops by in 10 minutes. He'll spend a couple of segments on the show with us, talking about NFL training camps. Couple of quarterbacks got the bag. We'll talk about it. Get his thoughts on that. MLB Trade Deadline news. There's a lot to talk about there, and we are going to be doing something very cool tomorrow, Tuesday, on MLB Trade Deadline Day. You're going to want to hear about that as well. But we start things out in basketball, and in particular Olympic basketball. Sam Yarnell is here, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. A fresh coif. A nice fresh haircut. Nice look there we're going, you're rocking, yeah, nice, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, stylish, man. You are a star. So let's get into the Olympics here and talk about USA basketball, which I got to say, I sat yesterday morning. I was in Vegas over the weekend. We're getting ready to move to Vegas. And so I was in Vegas over the weekend, and I got up early on Sunday morning, and watched the USA-Serbia game. And look, I have said this all along, and I will continue to maintain it. When the U.S. wants to play, nobody's beating them. When they go full throttle for stretches at a time, and that's what it's been throughout the showcase exhibitions and even this game. When they go full throttle for stretches at a time, nobody can hang with them. It's just a question of two things. One, can they make shots? Because they get a lot of open looks. That game against Serbia yesterday, they had plenty of open looks. The other is, how often do they go pedal to the metal, and do they do it enough? Because you have to respect your opponents. We saw what South Sudan was capable of doing in exhibitions. They already got an upset early on in this Olympic Games. You saw Serbia, what they're capable of doing. Now the U.S. has beaten them a couple of times. My only question about the U.S. is it feels like it's the U.S. against the U.S. At the end of the day, it feels like it's the United States against the United States. We'll get to Jason Tatum in a second. I want to get your thoughts on the win over Serbia.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this was the most challenging. I think most people can agree this was going to be the most challenging game in the group stage. Puerto Rico and South Sudan just don't pose the same kinds of threats as a Serbian team that has the best current player in the world on it and can put that player on the floor at any given time. The U.S. was incredibly effective in making Nikola Jokic neutralized in this game. And we know that, the history between him and Joel, but outside of Joel, the rest of that U.S. team really did a good job defending the entire Serbian team. And of course, when Kevin Durant and LeBron James don't miss a shot in the first quarter and combine for 31 points. In the first half and combined for 31 points. Kevin Durant didn't miss a shot until the fourth quarter, I don't think. If he even missed one at all in that game. It truly a remarkable performance from the best scorer in Olympic basketball history.
All right. I think we might have lost Sam for a second. See if we can get him back. Sam, where are you?
Games and talked about the first 5 exhibition games, all 5 of them, and talked about, what is this team without KD, and is the KD thing a mirage? No, they really just knew that they did not need to play him in any of the warmups because he is that good at international basketball that he can come in having no real game time practice and shoot 19 for 19 from the floor. Just incredible stuff from Kevin Durant.
I agree. Your audio cut out there for a second. I apologize to the audience. We had a little bit of an audio issue there for just for a second. But the gist of what Sam is saying wasn't lost in that. I think we're giving too little credit to South Sudan. I think we got to be very careful. I mean, and even the odds makers, they're getting 31.5. I think they got 44 the first time they played. They're getting 31.5 this time. I'm going to tell you right now, I am running to my nearest legal bookmaker and taking South Sudan plus 31.5. I don't know why people at this point haven't figured it out. South Sudan's really good. This isn't a joke. This isn't some flash in the pan thing. They're really good. I'm just saying, be very careful if you decide to lay the 31.5. I think you're nuts. Jason Tatum not playing. I knew this. Oh, I knew you would say this is great. Steve Kerr says he's going to play against South Sudan, but he did not suit up, or not that he didn't suit up. He suited up. Did not play against Serbia. What did you? I knew you'd get a kick out of this, so just go.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. So I can't take full credit for what I'm about to say because the person who put it in my head was Shea Serrano. Full credit to Shea Serrano for kind of coming up with this idea, but I think it's totally correct. Steve Kerr not letting Jaylen Brown on the Olympic team and then giving Derek White as many meaningful minutes as he did while leaving Jason Tatum on the bench is truly is Phil Jackson level mind games that Steve Kerr is playing with the Boston Celtics right now. And I'm completely here for it. This is great. We're seeing NBA drama spill over into the international game. I could not love this more. Celtics fans, prepare to be in disarray. I hope Jason Tatum gets 3 minutes the entire tournament. That would be awesome because then it can add to the fire of, oh yeah, he just rides the coattails of the people around him to championships. But, that's neither here nor there. This is a hilarious narrative. I love that it has become what it has become. And when the U.S. is going to beat every team in this tournament by 30 points on their way to a gold medal, this is what we need to be talking about. This is great, Jason.
Well, Mayo, look, at the end of all of this, the only drama that the Olympics provides when it comes to men's basketball might be who gets more playing time, who scores more points, who's taking the final shot if a game does wind up coming down to a final shot. That might wind up being the only drama that comes out of these Olympics if what some people say is true, that this team is head and shoulders above everybody else. And again, I think they are from a talent perspective. I don't even think that's a question. I think it's the U.S. versus the U.S. And I will say this. If there's an argument to be made for Team USA blowing out South Sudan, it's the fact that the first game did go down to the final shot. And they want to come out and make a statement, in this game that was just an aberration. So we'll see.
So that's my thought betting this game, right? I'm looking at the U.S. in the first quarter. I'm looking at the U.S. in the first half. They're going to come out and they're going to punch South Sudan in the face. Now, the South Sudanese could easily come back, but I like the U.S. early on in this game to make a statement.
We'll come back with Jason Cole and talk some NFL. Sam will rejoin us shortly for some baseball trade deadline talk as Sports Wrap continues.
I'd like to say this is the first time, but there have been others.
How many?
Who can keep track?
You think this is a joke?
Darling, we need answers, and you're going to give them to us.
Tell us again.
My car broke down. I brought it here.
I got stuck paying an expensive repair bill.
So it's true.
How much, darling?
$2,300.
$2,300.
What was I supposed to do? My transmission was shot.
You pick up your phone and you call CarShield before the car breaks down.
Plans through CarShield cover up to 5,000 parts and systems in your car.
That's right. A plan through CarShield could save you on some criminally high auto repairs, especially if your car is out of warranty. So, call CarShield, America's #1 auto protection company, before a breakdown and save yourself from getting stuck in car repair jail.
Let me guess. You hate saving money.
Who hates saving money?
Apparently you do.
All you had to do was call CarShield. And you could have protected yourself against expensive repairs.
Yeah, and then my price will go up the minute I file a claim.
Shut up! CarShield has the price locked in.
For as long as you cover your car.
I guess I should have called CarShield?
It's about time you said something that made sense.
Now you know what you need to do next time.
Bet he'll call CarShield now.
So can I go? Or
CarShield has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau and was voted America's most trusted auto protection company. Don't get handcuffed paying expensive auto repairs. Call now and get the CarShield guarantee. Your price will never go up and your coverage will never go down as long as you cover your car. In just minutes, you could have a plan that covers up to 5,000 parts and systems in your car. Don't wait until it's too late. Get CarShield's best coverage yet. Call 800-722-6574.
Attention families with a loved one in a nursing home. If your loved one has suffered from bed sores, falls, broken bones, dehydration, or even death, you may be entitled to a substantial settlement. If you have a loved one who is injured in a nursing home, we will find out what happened. State violations are found against nursing homes every day. You have a limited time to file your claim, so don't wait. Call 800-398-5999 and speak with one of our attorneys. The call is confidential and free.
All right, from the Olympics to the NFL. That's what we need in the Olympics. Some football, real American football. Let's go. I mean, like real American football, not like flag football or anything like that. Let's talk some NFL with our friend Jason Cole, who stops by the show. NFL, longtime NFL insider and reporter and Hall of Fame voter for the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. Hangs out with us on the show today. All right, quarterbacks are getting paid, Jason Cole. Jordan Love gets his bag and Tua gets his. A lot of people saying Tua got paid too much. He's certainly not going to complain. I was talking to somebody last week who said, look, there were defensive coordinators out there saying, please pay Tua all that money because they feel like he's not really as good as the money that he's getting. What did you make of the two latest big deals that we see for NFL quarterbacks?
Look, I always get the logic of people say, oh, that guy's overpaid, that guy's overpaid, or you paid too early, or you did this. Like Jordan Love, what has he had? Half of a good season. I get it. Try and find one. Like you don't want to pay your guy. You got to pay somebody, right? You got to have a guy play. You got to have a guy play quarterback, right? And lest I remind people, what was it like in Miami from 1999 to when Tua got drafted? How'd you like the quarterbacking for 20 years, right? Doesn't that say it all? You went 20 years without a quarterback, essentially. Chad Pennington, a little bit of something. A couple other guys, had a year or two in there. But Tua is the best they've had since Marino. And I'm not saying that Tua is Marino. Don't mistake what I'm saying. But you have to have a guy who can play the position in order to function as a team. And so you take that guy. I mean, that's just how this thing works. And so they all get overpaid by some amount, by some stretch. There are issues within the salary cap that cause them to get overpaid, which are far too technical for anybody to really be interested in, other than the union and the league. But the fact is that it causes money to be pushed towards quarterbacks, so they're going to get paid.
Is there any end?
$55 million.
Do you think there's any end to the escalation that we're seeing?
Only if the salary cap doesn't continue to go up, right? And then, or the NFL Players Association gets the bright idea, hey, maybe the guys at the bottom end of the roster need to get paid, right? Stop saying that it's okay for a rookie player, who makes a team to get $600,000 a year when a quarterback's making $40 million. And I'm not saying that quarterbacks are worth their weight in gold. Don't get me wrong. You have to have one. You have to have a good one, or $50 million or $55 million, whatever they cost. But the disparity that you have between a guy whose base salary is around a little less than $1 million, the quarterback is not worth 40 times or 50 times what the guy at the bottom end. And what the union doesn't understand is they are creating a huge income disparity gap within their own league because they don't monitor salaries. And that's as much as I want to say, because nobody cares. Nobody cares about it. But if that continues, you have to pay quarterbacks.
Well,
somebody has to get the money.
You've been inside NFL locker rooms. You talk to enough people. So I'll ask you this question. Does that jealousy sort of exist within locker rooms? Has it always existed?
Yes.
Has it always existed within locker rooms when it comes to the guys
Yes.
at the end of the roster who are getting,
Oh, it existed between guys who are making above average salaries in the quarterback. I mean, Mark Duper and Mark Clayton used to complain about how much Marino was making. And Marino would look at him and go, huh, get a better agent. Like that's kind of stuff.
It sounds exactly, by the way, something Marino would say.
Yeah, I mean, well, he did say it. Like, he literally said that to them. He goes, hey, not my fault. You get a better agent. Not Shannon Sharp, but Sterling Sharp, when he played with Favre, and he'd get in the huddle, and he'd go, I can't believe you make more money than me. I mean, that's a star level. And now imagine what you're a guy at the bottom of the roster, and you're looking up, and that guy, your salary is $600,000, and you're not complaining about your life. I get it, but you're looking up at a quarterback who's making $40 or $50 million, and that guy's basically 100 times more valuable than you, and it's not right, but it's the situation that the union created because the union doesn't pay attention to salaries. And they make this a boom or bust world. Like, not only did you hit the lottery to get into the NFL in the first place as an athlete, but now we're playing a lottery system on lifetime earnings. And that's not smart.
What does this mean for Dak Prescott?
He's getting 50-something million next year, maybe 60.
From the Cowboys?
I don't know. Doesn't matter. What does it matter? He's gonna get paid. He should get paid. He's a good player. Is he a great player? No, he's not a great player, but he's a good player. So he's gonna get paid.
I just watched Jerry last week in this press conference he gave, and
I'll say, boy, I don't know what the salary. I just told you, I don't want to pay these guys. But I mean, Foghorn Leghorn is
just. I was just thinking of. I'll say it again.
I say, I don't want to pay nobody. Did I tell you? Like, he's just killing his franchise. Like, Jerry wants to make contract negotiations into a show, and it's not a show. It's just not. And it's supposed to be about keeping your team together, keeping your best players motivated, keeping them happy, getting them, aligned to try and win games. And that's not what he's doing.
No, he's not. And it just feels like he's boggled this and bungled this Dak Prescott situation every which way.
But he likes it because he likes the attention that it gets. And even he admitted that during that press conference.
It just blows my mind that they'd just rather be relevant and in a conversation than be, and they have talent. Like, it just, we'll come back. It just blows my mind. We're talking with Jason Cole, does a terrific job on the NFL, longtime insider. Get some thoughts with him around the league as we continue talking about training camp on this Monday edition of Sports Wrap. Don't go anywhere. All right, let's take it to segment 3 on this Monday edition of Sports Wrap. Very cool, interesting interview that we're going to have on the show this week. I'll tell you about it a little later on in the show. You want to hang around for this. Let's talk some MLB Trade Deadline news. Sam Yarnell rejoins us for that. The Yankees are active. That's what I like to hear. I've seen way too many trade deadlines come and go where the Yankees go, we'll tweak, we'll adjust. They went for it. They went and got Jazz Chisholm. I love the move. I don't know how it's going to work out from a chemistry standpoint because now you've got Gleyber Torres saying, I don't want to play third base. I don't want to play third base. I'm a second baseman. So you got some interesting issues there. You've got reports out there that the Yankees are interested in Blake Snell if the Giants are interested in parting ways with him. By the way, can we just say this? There used to be this thought, well, if a team signs somebody long-term deal, big money, untradeable, there is no such thing as a contract you can't get out of anymore in some way, shape, or form. because there's always going to be some team. If you're out of it at the deadline, there's always going to be one team out there that's willing to pay for that player. Or maybe you work out a deal where some of the money gets offset from, the team that's trading the player, that sort of thing. We'll get to Blake Snell in a second. First of all, Yankees take 2 of 3 from the Red Sox. They blow a terrible game on Friday night before winning the final 2 games of the series. But that is a big, sort of stem the blood flow here from the Yankees. And then they go and get Jazz Chisholm. What'd you think of it?
Yeah, I thought it was a great move for the Yankees. I think something that not to change the conversation, the Yankees are going to commit this year, which, you were kind of talking about it there without saying it. Like, that's what they've had the most trouble doing in the past. I'm trying to think exactly, I want to say 4 to 5 trade deadlines, is that they've never really committed to this year, and it feels like the Jazz move is the beginning of committing to this year, especially when you give up an Augustin Ramirez, who as far as I understand, they seemed pretty high on at the catcher position. On the other side of that deal, that specific deal, is the Miami Marlins. And Jason, the Miami Marlins, despite being in a horrible situation, and obviously that team isn't going nowhere fast, they have made 2 very good trade deadline deals, in my opinion. The AJ Puck dealing to the Arizona Diamondbacks on, I want to say that was Friday night, or maybe it was Saturday afternoon. It was Saturday afternoon. And then later that day, Jazz Chisholm being passed along as well to the New York Yankees. The prospects that they've brought back have fortified that system. So good on the Miami Marlins selling the correct way. A team that is continuing to confuse me, though, is the Chicago Cubs. I don't understand.
I'm with you. I don't understand it either. Are you in? Are you out? You go and get Paredes in exchange for Morel. I don't understand the move. I don't know.
So
I don't know what they're trying.
That was my big thing, right? Is if you're going to get a corner infielder, I guess Paredes can play shortstop too, but right, like a corner infielder defensively who can hit decently well for their youth. Why are you giving up Christopher Morel, who can play third base and is 25, 27? The move just didn't make a lot of sense to me. It seemed like there may have been some other underlying thing there with Morel. But yeah, just a very odd circumstance for the Cubs. I saw pass and tweet, in these kinds of situations when you're a team like the Cubs that are truly middling, right? Like, we had so many expectations for them this year and they've let us down. When you're a team like that, you're in a very weird spot. So they are kind of maximizing it in terms of maximizing value on the pieces they had. I just don't know if I can get all the way there that they're rebuilding a team that will be in contention next year, the year after, which is what it seems like they're justifying all of these moves as.
Red Sox are 2-7 since the All-Star break. And what was one of baseball's great stories this season, Alex Cora gets the new deal. He's going to be Red Sox manager forever. All that's great. Now you got to wonder what the Red Sox do at the deadline at 2-7 since the break and having to make some decisions. What do you do if you're Boston?
Well, and they've already shown us a little bit that they're buying, right? When they got James Paxton from, granted, I know Paxton was kind of a giveaway from the Dodgers, and they had to give up a prospect that I don't think anyone had ever really heard of. But you're exactly right. The Red Sox are in a very confusing position considering they have solid pieces that they could sell. And when you've got guys like Tristan Casas, who effectively was your second or third best hitter all season on the 60-day IL, not coming back for the rest of the year, it's tough for me to get there. I get that Jarren Duran has played at an MVP level, at an all-star level at the very least. I think that that's certainly a piece they could build around going forward. I just think that if you're the Boston Red Sox, you've got to kind of recognize your place. You're in the best division in baseball. You're 5 games back of a wild card spot. I can't get all the way there on Boston.
And the Orioles, according to Ken Rosenthal, not exactly done. There's talk that they're still going to be active. They got Zach Eflin, gave up a couple of prospects to get him. There's talk that they may go out there and make a move, as it relates to improving that team. Here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow, trade deadline day, myself, and our friend David Ardsma. We will be live for the final hour leading up to the trade deadline, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. It'll be exclusively on X live. Go and check it out on my X feed at the back page or at David Ardsma's as well. You can go and find him on X as well. We will be live for the final hour of the trade deadline, talking about all the latest deals, a special edition Sports Wrap Live. That will be on Tuesday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern, leading right into the trade deadline. I still wonder, if you are the Giants, you're 3.5 out right now of that final wild card spot. Are you? I just don't know if that fan base is going to be accepting of them selling off here at the deadline. I think that is a hard sell, literally, to your fan base. If you go start dealing Blake Snell, they'll be playing in front of nobody for the final month and a half of the season if they make that move.
Yeah, you're right, but think about where Blake Snell has been this season.
Last 4 starts, he's been very good.
Right, so that's what we were going to get there. So beginning of the season started hurt. Started the year late, really bad. Got injured, came back okay. Got injured, came back again, and he's been on this streak where his ERA over his last 4 starts, I believe, Jason, is 0.74, 0.9, something like that. It's insane. It's incredible. I'm not there with the Giants yet. I'll tell you tomorrow what I think.
Fair enough. We'll talk more trade deadline tomorrow. More Jason Cole on the other side. Lots of NFL to talk about with him as training camps roll on. Keep the conversation moving on this Monday. Talking NFL with our good friend Jason Cole. Does a terrific job. Beautiful Big Sur in the background. Serenity. Peace.
This is my backyard.
We were just talking during the break about book ideas and things like that, so I won't say what we were talking about, but you working on anything new, book-wise? Got anything going on?
I finished one. I've got another one going, and then I really want to start doing some serious. I did this about a year ago. I started doing some serious research on Andy Reid, and I want to do some more. Because if they, like they win a third one in a row, or even if it's a couple of years off, I just think he's an incredible story. So Andy Reid, I hope, is my next project that I can move it on.
By the way, Shut Up, Your Kid Is Not That Great is behind
still
me.
in the back.
Yep, still behind me. There it is. Still
one of the great books of all time. It's up there with War and Peace.
Go and get it. It's great for easy reading. Throw it on your coffee table. People can check it out when they come over. As we talk with Jason Cole, who's also a Hall of Fame selector. You mentioned the Chiefs, so let's bring them up because as much as you're the third NFL guest I've done in the last 9 days. And it feels like we're not even talking about the Chiefs going for a third straight Super Bowl. It really doesn't. Outside of the headlines here or there of a Mahomes saying, "Oh, I don't feel like I'm underpaid," or a Kelsey saying, challenging off season. It doesn't feel like we're talking about a team on the precipice of history, which is just nuts to me. I don't know if it's a good thing, a bad thing, indifferent. I don't know what it is.
I think it's part of the quiet of Andy Reid since he's not particularly boastful. It's partly, it's Kansas City, so it's not a lot of sex appeal for the city. A lot of stuff is taken for granted with that team because they've been so good for so long. The characters haven't really significantly changed. There's been some negative publicity created by Harrison Butker that sort of detracted from talking about football. And I think there's a weariness because of the whole Taylor Swift Kelsey thing that people are just like, oh, I don't want to go down that road because it's inevitably going to lead toward that discussion. So I think they're sort of a tired subject, but they're a great subject, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. When you look at this roster, if there is an impediment to them winning a third straight Super Bowl outside of things you can't control, like health and stuff like that, if there is an impediment to them, what is it? Complacency?
They're a team. They're a weird team. The complacency is a really interesting one because if you've watched the way they've played over the years, they're a team that sleepwalks its way through a few games every year and kind of doesn't like they lost 3 games last year simply because they couldn't catch the football.
So true.
Right? Like not anything really difficult, but they didn't catch the football. Like not hard passes, not anything, like the opener against Detroit. Guy just catch the ball, right? There's 2 other games in there. Or there's the penalty by Kadarius Toney that cost them the one game on that big play that got called back. So sometimes they just are sloppy because they get a little sleepy. So complacency is right up there for them, but they also have the ability to turn it on with the flip of a switch. And as much as Josh Allen and Joe Burrow are really good players, Lamar Jackson and a lot of other guys that we talk about, Aaron Rodgers is out there in the AFC, like Patrick Mahomes is just a step better than the field. Some other guys have taken shots at him, but when it comes in playoff time, he's a step better than the rest of the field. That's just the way it is.
How do you see things playing out as of today, July 29th, 2024, in Pittsburgh with this Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, pseudo competition they have going on there, and how it all shakes out, and really kind of a different situation, at least that I could think of. If you could think of anything like this that's happened in Pittsburgh under the Mike Tomlin era, feel free to correct me. They've never really had a situation like this under him, have they?
No, but I think you're talking about an old guy who's lost his mojo against a guy who's never had any mojo, a young guy who's never had any, right? So, look, I think they're a playoff team because they're going to be better with a new offensive coordinator who kind of knows what he's doing. And I think that the 2 quarterbacks will get enough out of both of them. But I think Justin Fields, if he's ever going to make it, is still a couple of years. It's sort of like what Ryan Tannehill went through. He had to he had to play more games and really figure out the game. I'm not sure he's ever going to figure it out, but I think he needs more time on the field. And this season's not enough. Whereas Russell Wilson, I don't think there's much left for him unless this play action system that Smith is coming up with will really afford him time. It'll get him back to what he was in Seattle, but he hasn't been that guy in 2 years. And Pickens is, their only really good talent wide receivers is a complete pain in the ass. I mean, he's one of the most selfish guys in the world. So, and that's saying a lot among wide receivers.
I was going to say.
Yeah. So, I think they're a playoff contender because they're just so deep, particularly on defense, and their offensive line is better. And so they're going to function on offense well enough that they'll make the playoffs. They're not a real contender for any kind of championship. And I think that the quarterback situation is going to solve itself in the draft a year or 2 from now.
That's Jason Cole, NFL insider and reporter, Hall of Fame selector, author of that fine book behind me, Shut Up, Your Kid Is Not That Great. Always appreciate it, my friend.
All right, dude. I'll talk to you later. Be good.
All right, something to consider. Segment 5 of the show. I want to make an announcement, though, before we dig into some NFL here. So, I've been working on this for a few days, and now I can confirm. Wednesday on Sports Wrap, an exclusive conversation with Tom Brenneman, who you might have heard recently was signed on by the CW to do play-by-play for, I believe, the ACC on the CW this year, as they've picked up college football. Our buddy Mike Yam, by the way, who appears on the show. Mike Yam's going to be, I think, working the studio on those ACC broadcasts as well, which is pretty cool. But Tom Brenneman, who was unceremoniously dismissed back 4 years ago for using a homophobic slur during a Cincinnati Reds broadcast, and also subsequently lost his job with Fox Sports, Tom Brenneman will do his first television interview since the news of his hiring by the CW. We will have a lengthy conversation with him coming up Wednesday on Sports Wrap, so you'll want to make sure to tune into that. Should be a very interesting and enlightening conversation, to say the least. Sam Yarnell, something to consider. 2 massive quarterback contracts in the NFL this weekend. We were talking about it earlier in the show with Jason Cole. I wanted to get your thoughts. Tua gets the bag.
Dolphins handcuffed themselves. They really did, Jason. And you know what? You and I talked about it. It's funny because since the contract has happened, I've talked to multiple people in the NFL world, specifically the NFL contract world, about it. And they agree with exactly what you and I said on this very program last week. It was the Dolphins had a split in the road. They had to choose whether to go right or go left. They had to choose which direction. One of the directions was pay all the talented players who have made your quarterback who he is and ride with that. And when the time comes to ride out your quarterback and he wants more money, go find a new quarterback, because a lot of quarterbacks could do what Tua's done in this offense. Or you could pay Tua, have now a 3-year window where you have to win the Super Bowl or it's all a bust, and they've handcuffed themselves to Tua Tagovailoa. So I think the prevailing sense is kind of that. I don't understand, if you're the Miami Dolphins, why you choose to do this in the organizational spot that you're in. They have less franchise pressure if they get rid of Tua on them than I can imagine in the last 20-ish years, since the very early 2000s when they struggled. I don't understand the move to pay Tua. I know Dolphins fans aren't huge on Tua. It's a real organizational head scratcher in every sense of the word to me, Jason.
Jason Cole, though, does bring up one valid point. Do you remember what your quarterback play was like for the 20 years prior to Tua? And that is a very fair point. The other point I will bring up, and I'm not defending this, I'm just saying it's sort of an opposing view. Not even contrarian point of view, just a different point of view is there's going to be a ton of quarterbacks that get paid tons of money that are never going to win a Super Bowl. There's going to be tons of them. I mean, is Justin Herbert ever going to win a Super Bowl?
Daniel Jones,
Joe Burrow. I mean, Josh Allen. We can go on and on. Lamar Jackson. I mean, there are going to be a ton of quarterbacks that make a lot of money that are going to be, quote, to use your word, disappointment or bust, which I think is an unfair word, because there's just a lot of guys that aren't going to win Super Bowls. Brock Purdy eventually will get the bag, and we'll talk about that. But to me, I mean, Jordan Love just got a deal. After a half a good season, Jordan Love just got an insane amount of money. So if I put the two deals side by side, Jordan Love and Tua, to me, the better deal is Tua, because at least you have something of a track record to speak of in terms of seeing something. I mean, the Packers went and gave the bag on top of the bag to Jordan Love after a half a season. I mean,
so again, Jason, here's my thing, right? When you look at these deals side by side, you're not wrong. Like, there is more value clearly in the Tua contract. But when you zoom out and look at these franchises, specifically these offenses, since we're talking about quarterbacks on the whole, in Green Bay, you have pieces like Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, who Jordan Love very much made better with his play throughout the season. In Miami, you're talking about All-Pro Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, who was drafted by the Dolphins and immediately transcended that offense. Not to mention Raheem Mostert and Devin Achane, who they also drafted and also became a staple in that offense almost immediately. The explosive players in Miami's offense are what make them the offense that they are. They give them that identity. Whereas in Green Bay, it's Jordan Love who gives the Packers their offensive identity. So I understand paying him as much as they did. I can't get all the way there on Tua because we've seen that offense is a sum of all of its parts. It's no individual that makes it that much better. I can't justify paying Tua like a top 10 quarterback in the NFL right now.
Well, the question, and look, for a lot of people who are betting futures on this stuff, they're looking down the line. If you're just talking about this year, you've got Green Bay right now, they're 18-1 to potentially win a Super Bowl this year. And if you're talking about Miami right now, you're looking at 24-1 on either of those teams. Either worth a sprinkle, by the way? I think it's Miami.
I think Green Bay is, just because we know that NFC East or that NFC is a little more volatile. My best bet, Tua under 4,500 passing yards.
Really? Interesting. We started the show with the Olympics. We will finish with the Olympics. Next. Just about time to wrap things up on this Monday edition of the program. Tomorrow, don't forget, live sports wrap exclusively on X. If you don't follow me there, go at the back page. Myself, former big league reliever David Aardsma, we will have you covered 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday for the trade deadline. Still normal sports wrap tomorrow and everything, but we will have you right on the trade deadline, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern on the MLB Trade Deadline. All right, without any further delay, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. Let's talk about the Olympics. We started the show there. Let's finish the show there. I couldn't watch it this morning. Thanks, NBC, YouTube TV, whoever. For some reason on the West Coast, couldn't watch Novak Djokovic and Rafa Nadal this morning. Maybe they wanted to save it for prime time. I don't know. But Djokovic beats Nadal in straight sets. I think he won 10 of the first 11 games en route to victory against Nadal. I don't even know what the betting was on that pre-match. I would have been curious to see. No? No, you don't
It
know.
wouldn't have been close.
Yeah. Well,
I
Djokovic
bet you,
wins.
I would bet you, just thinking of a line in my head, I bet you Novak was minus 600.
You think it would have been that high? I think it would have been lower because it's on clay.
I bet you Novak was
Clay,
minus
Roland
600. And I
Garros.
bet you Rafa was 4-1. I bet you like a minus 650 and like a plus 480 kind of thing.
I'd be curious. Nadal loses in straights. He actually surged late, won 4 straight games in the second set to get it to 4-all. And then Djokovic able to pull away, breaks back in that 9th game of the second set, en route to a 6-4 victory. So potentially the last time we ever see one of the great rivalries in this generation of tennis. And if you think about it, what are the odds of them playing each other ever again? That might have been it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in a first round or like a second round if Rafa is a very late seed in a tournament. But realistically, yeah, I think it probably was, Jason. I think you're right. That was probably it. And, all we can do now is root for Rafa and Carlos in the doubles because they look really cool playing together.
It is pretty cool. And again, I love it. And something I've called for is for tennis to do more of these sort of Ryder Cup style events. I know they have the Davis Cup, which is, these team events and international, country versus country. I think it's great. I think it really gins up interest in the sport. It's why Olympic tennis is fantastic. I'll be very interested to see some of these matches as we continue. And Djokovic this also deserves mentioning. I was talking about this with Patrick McEnroe off air. He might come on the show later this week, but we were talking off air about it. I mean, Djokovic starting to get himself healthy, starting to get himself right, and the U.S. Open is obviously right around the corner. So, interesting to see what he's able to do there. So, Simone Biles. Can I just say this? If Jerry West could be the logo for the NBA, if there was a logo for the Olympics, I'd make it this image on the screen of Simone Biles, which you can't see, Sam. Sorry. But, I mean, I would make her the logo. Forget the rings and all that stuff. Let's just make the logo Simone Biles. She was on one ankle yesterday. She hurt herself in warm-ups. I came back from Vegas last night, and my friends were watching our dog, Paul and Michael. They were watching Dookie for us. And I went to go pick up the dog, and they were watching Simone Biles. So I sat down and watched. Just out of this world. I'm just otherworldly on one ankle what she was able to do early on in her Olympic, run for this time around. Just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the GOAT. Speaking of logos, right? Her logo. You ever seen it? It's just a goat. It's actually a really cool logo. It's like her doing a trick, but it's shaped in the shape of a goat. Simone Biles is awesome. She rocks, and she should have been the female flag bearer at the Olympics. Those are my thoughts.
Does she have, I was just kind of curious. Are there any odds on her to do anything? Like, or is there, I didn't see. I was just looking real quick. I didn't notice any odds being available on her.
I'm not sure that a couple of things. So the odds get tricky with that kind of thing because it's a judgment. It's all a judgment-based sport. And obviously we see that in other sports.
Oh, here it is. Women's gymnastics. Here we go. Women's gymnastics, Simone Biles.
How do you have that and I don't?
Trampoline. No, they don't have. They only have it for a couple of different things like rhythmic gymnastics, and trampoline. And all that
here we
stuff.
go. Here we go.
Yeah, I can't find anything on her. I mean, could you imagine what the numbers would be? They'd be insane. I mean, you'd have to easily lay
4,000. 4,000.
I mean, she is that.
It wouldn't be that
she
much.
She is a prohibitive favorite.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I think you may have been able to maybe get her at plus money in her first Olympics, but that was probably the end of it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, that whole team is fantastic. And something I heard interesting that was mentioned on CNN this morning as I was scrolling through the channels. Think about from her first Olympics to now, and the composition and the way gymnasts look. She grew up in a time where being a black female gymnast versus now where I think 4 of the 5 competitors on USA Gymnastics are members of color. So, I mean, it's fantastic. It really is. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Jason Cole. We'll see you tomorrow.